Hey guys, so before I forgot, I did want to make sure that I showed you the hotbeds in all their brand new glory. So this black pile is soil that was dug up here, and it's about a foot deep. The rest of our property has cobblestones, and you can see more of the black right here underneath the mulch. See if I can show it to you. So the way that I did that was I put down mulch every year. Whenever weeds came up, we put more mulch down. Sometimes it was wood, sometimes it was straw, sometimes it was moldy hay, and sometimes it was just weeds. But the trick was, hey Avon Leanne, the trick is ducks. If you're going to do a deep bed, deep mulch system, you don't want chickens, because the chickens will scratch. They'll scratch all your mulch away. Ducks will pat it down and aerate it with their little bills so it stays in place. The other thing that I did that I'm really excited about is this is one of my original hotbeds, and this is the one that has survived the best. And the reason is I used old tin. If you can see the tin on the inside, I used tin on the inside, I used pallets on the ends, and then just regular wood on the sides. I did not use expensive cedar or redwood or anything that was gonna be resistant to rotting. I didn't use anything expensive. And it's full of tree limbs and old manure, and now on the top I have compost and black soil from other spots in the garden. Over here, this is the new one, and you can see the difference. It has more unbroken, uncomposted material, and what'll happen is I'll water it with rabbit manure tea and it'll start to heat up and it'll start to sink, and I'll put more carbon on it, I'll put more manure on it, and then it'll sink, and then I'll add more, and I'll just keep layering it until it stops heating up. And then I will put some a potting soil mix that I make using perlite, peat moss, sand, and what else do I put in it? Mainly it's peat moss and perlite, but the sand definitely helps. It keeps it from forming an impenetrable seal on the top so water can't get in. So this is what it looks like, and it's just 2 pallets. I used really old wood, and again I put tin on the inside, and what happens is that keeps the water off the wood, so instead of breaking down in the course of a year as you water it, instead it holds up. Hey Lisa, hey Crazy Krasnodar Lartmont, hello JD Camp. How do I wash my hair? I brush my hair a lot when we're off grid, and about once a week I wash it, and as long as I keep it brushed, wow, today would not be the day to show glamour, would it? But that's how we do it, and we use a weed sprayer that has never had weed spray in it. But I wanted to show you the guts of my very first hotbed. It is what has filled up the top of those other 2, and it is absolutely full of everything wonderful. And the secret to that was rotten chicken eggs. I know that sounds really terrible, but whenever we had eggs that we found from the chickens, we would put them into the hotbed, and they created these little pockets of nutrition. But this is what this compost looks like, and it's never been turned. This compost just sat, and it was mostly wood. It's mostly wood. So if you saw those old videos from when we had the woofers here and they were putting all those pine boughs in the hotbed, this is the one. Hey Grandpa Jones, how are you? Hey Kristen. So that's what it looks like. I still have probably 4 yards of compost here that I'm going to take out and put on raspberries and other things. This is how the deck is looking. This is the big project that my dad and the girls and I have been working on. And what you see on the ground here is plastic. If we had a cardboard box or something that went into the hotbed, plastic doesn't decompose. Everything else is decomposed, but not plastic. So what you're seeing is little strips of things that got dumped by a careless adult or just a child and came into here. But that's what happens over time. It was never turned, and yet it's black, beautiful gold, and that's how most of my property is in the backyard. Anywhere that I have done my deep mulch system, that's what I have. And I'll try to show you, there's very few places on my property that Haven't had a little bit of that done, but I'll see if I can find a spot to show you what the dirt was like when we came, because even my driveway has some compost on it, some mulching. So I'm gonna walk back here and see if I can find a normal spot and show you what the soil is naturally like here. Yeah, this is it, because this is not a road. We turned it into a road, but you can see this, all these rocks, all this. This is not road base. This is just a pasture, and this spot actually gets watered and everything. But then you move over a little bit and you find a spot where I have put down some compost or some old bedding, and it's a lot better. It's not perfect. It's still working on it. Like you'll see this here where I had some old bedding. At least it's covered the rocks, but it's not nearly as good as the backyard, where over the course of 5 years, well actually it hasn't been 5 years, because this has not been mulched in the last 3 years because the renters were here and they didn't put mulch on it. It only had ducks in it, but it's still, there are not a whole lot of weeds. A lot of what you see in here is comfrey and garlic, and so I really want to mulch it this year just because it looks so pretty. How's the Aircrete raised garden bed? I will show it to you. We got it reassembled. The renters' kids had taken some of the blocks off and played soccer with them, so we had to collect them from the property. But the nice thing was, is even being played soccer, they held up. The other thing is that we had a lot of freeze thaw all winter, but it didn't break down the Aircrete at all. So the hotbeds that I had started before we left last year, I never finished them. I want to finish them. They look pretty awful. This is what an unfinished hotbed looks like. That's what it looks like before you put on manure, before you put on the top. It just looks like a pile of junk. So you see how different this one looks from one that's finished. All right, so this is the Aircrete bed. And what's on top of it is alfalfa. And the reason for that is because sometimes the peat moss will form a hard shell. And we do have it planted, but we've had a lot of rain and a lot of cold, so nothing has sprouted yet. We're gonna watch it. If nothing comes up, we'll go to the nursery and get some things to see how they do as opposed to direct seeding. But our climate is a little bit harsh on new seedlings at this time of year. So as you can see, that's the ugly hotbed. I'm gonna take it down. I'm gonna use better lumber. We're gonna reassemble it. The nice thing is that hotbeds are very easy to reassemble. It takes maybe 1 day, maybe 2. And then I can just reuse a lot of this in the new hotbeds, take off the parts that I feel are mismatched and don't look good. And we'll go from there. I'll see if I can show you everything else that's happening. Everything is just topsy-turvy. Sometimes to clean up a mess, you have to make a mess, and that's what I feel like right now. So this is Jasmine and my dirty fingers, and this is Violet. She's Pumpkin Spice's daughter, and this is Honey Lemon's daughter. Yeah, Kenny Bean said, wow, those blocks look like they were just poured. They're holding up really, really well. They've even had baby goats and cows run over the top of them. Oh, that is a lot of string. I'm glad you pulled that out. So this is our swing that we just put together for the girls.
Yeah, it got tangled up in that stuff got all tangled up in the weed whacker.
This is Zinnia. And you can see right here in the ditch bake, this is what our normal ground looks like when it hasn't been mulched. So you can see the difference. There's no black soil here, it's just rocks. Hey, Off-Grid Lifestyle, how are you? Yeah, all of the Aircrete that we've had has really stood the test of time. And if you saw the live show earlier, we are visiting back and forth with the Honeydew Carpenter, and we're trying to get the new rocket stove with the poured Aircrete into the big house to try it out and see what we think of it in a big space. So this is us. Now is a good time to do deep mulch system. Fall is a good time. There's no bad time to do a deep mulch system. but I do feel like it's really, really important to use ducks because they keep the weeds out. They put fertilizer on so that you're not pulling your nitrogen out of your soil by having so much carbon on it. I really believe if you want to do a deep mulch system, you need ducks. And that's one of the reasons why I have the high beds that I use, the hotbeds, is because if you do have ducks, you cannot have low beds. They'll get their little heads in there and they'll eat all your plants, and so will the slugs. If you have a high bed, then your chickens and your ducks cannot get into it to eat your seedlings, and they will patrol the bottom of the hotbed and eat all the slugs and the bugs, and it's just the perfect system. What, honey? I don't know what you want. I don't have any more food for you. She of the wonky horn. I know, but they don't. Dirt, not your thing. Do we need to move them over? I think we need to move them over. Okay, so I'm gonna go and see what else I can get done tonight. I do want to show you more of our process. We're trying to get the, we have one more hotbed to build in the greenhouse so that there's 2 hotbeds. And we do have a viewer who's interested in renting the house. So John and I are having lots of talks about selling versus renting right now. And we just got a lot to do. I haven't been making as many videos as I need to lately. I've been really behind. All right. I am going to take off, and thanks for popping in, and I would love to hear stories of what you guys are doing for your deep mulch systems and your hotbeds. I would love to see pictures. You can share them with me over on Dirtpatcheaven on Facebook.